Welcome to another episode of the Art Realm. I don't know what number episode this is. This video might, or this episode might actually be published before some of the other ones, just because this has been a project I've been working on for about 3.5 years now, and this is the prime example of being a creative who makes things but does not ship things. I've interviewed probably 12 artists over the past few years, which is not a lot, but I've recorded a bunch of individual episodes and I just haven't put any of them out. But this is the year that I changed that, okay? This is the year that I actually put these things out without all the concern, okay? Without all the overthinking and perfectionism. I've been feeling like I'm at this Piedmont, or I'm at this threshold that's really been asking me to just like punch through, come through. Sorry, you're gonna hear my dog making sounds because normally I record these in my car, but today I'm recording in the studio. But I've been at this threshold of something literally telling me, come on, let's go, ship it, just talk, just go, just do. But there's this other side of me that is huge. It's just a huge perfectionist, huge on refinement. Oh, if I can't do it right, I don't want to do it, or I'm gonna hold off. I'm gonna wait until I can do it right. I'm gonna wait until I can do it perfectly. I want to wait until I can do it perfectly, but I'm over that. I recognize, in the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and, expecting different results. And that's what I've been doing. I've been keeping the same mentality of precision and perfection. And I have, ultimately, if I want a different outcome and I want more freedom, I want more flow, I want more connectivity, I want more expressiveness, and I want to prove to the source that I am trustworthy with the ideas that infinite intelligence gives me. I want to show, I want to pay homage, I don't know. I want to show that I am here, I'm present, I am a servant of the creative flow, and I've been backed up because I've just been hoarding it. It's been absolutely insane, but one of my big goals now is to just develop the cadence and follow through necessary to bring everything to fruition. I kind of came to the conclusion today that I have all the capacities, I have all the capabilities, I have all the skills. What I don't have is the fully formed cadence that allows for breakthrough. And ultimately it is a certain cadence in action, that's going to be the real driving force behind things. So you guys are going to have to bear with me as I get back into recording some of these episodes. They will likely vary in length right now. I would assume that over time they will become a little bit more consistent. But since I am just in this practice of trying to get myself to create and ship, I have to be as loose as possible with myself. I have to eliminate friction. One of the crazy things is that I actually went back and randomly listened to, at the time of recording this, it's June 11th, and I went back and listened to an old episode that I recorded back in November. And I just listened to it and I was like, wow, this was a good episode. It helped me. I was listening to it and I was interested because I don't remember the things I talk about in these episodes. It's like stream of consciousness. So going back and listening to it is like listening to it for the first time. And I was just working, listening to this podcast, and I was like, then it ended and I was like, that was good. It took my mind places. It made me think about things. And it made me realize how much of a disservice, how selfish it is to hoard this. And I feel like the universe has low-key been, not intentionally, but like naturally punishing me for hoarding. And the punishment has been this tension, this pressure in my head, this pressure in my chest, in my throat. I've had the past year or so, I've had this prominent throat blockage where it's just been feeling like I'm not communicating as fully as my soul would like. I have not been communicating as thoroughly as my soul would like, and this is a big agenda of mine to fix that. I don't know, and I'm sure other people can relate to this, other creatives. It's an interesting situation when you're an artist or a creative and you're known as an artist. Everything I do is creative. I work in creative fields. I make art, but then I also work in marketing and creative and things like that. And it's just crazy when you're creative on some layers enough that people can look at me and say, oh, wow, you're so creative. You're such an artist. And I am. I'm sitting in my art studio, that has every format of communication imaginable, and I ping pong around them all. But at the same time, there's a lot of stuff that I'm holding back. There's a lot of stuff that I'm really, really holding back. I don't know. I just want to fix that. It's a lot of just developing trust in myself, and a lot of it has been ping-ponging back and forth. One of the biggest things I'm going to make a whole episode on is, since a child, it was ingrained in me, and then even as I got older, it was like really beat into me to not be self-indulgent, to not talk about myself, to not think I'm so worthy to just be talking about myself, like I'm worthy enough for people to want to sit and listen to me reflect introspectively. And I'm having to unteach myself that, just because, just no, and it's a in a way, it's like invalidation, the fact that I'm holding on to these beliefs. I actually want to make a video on this later, but a quick synopsis is just that from the age of like 5 or 6, it was beat into me by the adults that saw my shine. I was a prodigy. Looking back at my art when I was a literal baby, a child, I was a prodigy. I just understood intuitively how to look at something and draw it, right? And I just did that. I would draw. I would show people how to draw. I'd be like, oh, look, draw this, da, da, da. People would tell me to draw things, and I would draw it. And it was just me shining. It was just me being a kid. But some of the adults in my school, in my life, saw that and wanted to make sure that I did not become arrogant, that I did not believe I was better than anyone. And so they made it their personal mission to humble me. If there was a moment where I was shining a little bit too bright, they would be like, okay, now remember, you're not better than anybody else. Just because you can do that doesn't mean this, da, da, da. And I'm just like, I'm 7. Like, let's chill. You know what I mean? So I got that kind of stuff when I was young, and that stuck with me. It just kind of, in my body, in my nervous system, I have this response of like, oh, shining too bright, calm down. Shining too bright. Oh, too many people are looking, calm down. Oh, you're talking about yourself and it's attracting, oh, calm down. And I'm having to unlearn this freaking belief that was injected in me. So this belief, this idea, this freaking stupidness, was kind of reaffirmed or worsened with age. I remember starting in high school art class. I was coming from, art in middle school. And because I was good at art, the high school art program knew that I was coming. They were told by the middle school, like, okay, you have this artist coming in. She's really good, cultivate her, whatever, So they knew I was coming. And the thing was, it's really interesting that this happened, because I actually went into high school with an approach that I wasn't going to be the art kid. I wasn't going to flaunt it. I wasn't going to show people, because there was a girl at my middle school who made a remark. She was like, oh, you only got invited to this bar mitzvah because you're an artist. That's the only way you make friends. Someone basically said something to me that made me insecure, made me feel like the only reason why people like me is because I can draw. And when I was going to high school, I wanted to prove that wrong. I wanted to show that, like, no, I can build a community and make friends from my personality. I can just be a regular person and not lead with my talents and things. And that was my approach. So keep that in mind. That was literally my approach coming into 9th grade. So 9th grade art class rolls around. I'm sitting with my friends, and we're just fucking shooting the shit. We're just laughing. We're talking. We're being kids. At the most, I don't even think we were being that disruptive. However, we were just like talking and laughing, right? And so the teacher has to be like, hey, back table, quiet down. And what do? We quiet down, we listen. Not that complicated, right? That's part of school. That is literally part of school. And there is a particular day in the very start of the school year, I think it might have been day 1, actually, of this class, where my table is told to quiet down, and we do. But then I'm personally pulled to the side where she's like, let me speak to you for a minute. And I'm like, okay. And everyone's looking like, what's going on? And she pulls me to the side, and she's like, listen, I know that, you think you're this artist, and you feel like you're pretty good. You probably feel like you don't need to listen in my class, but what we're not going to do is you're not going to disrupt, you're not going to this, just because you feel like you don't need it and all this stuff. And it was just so out of left field for me, because in my mind, I'm like, first of all, woman, you don't know me. You literally don't know me. You don't know my personality. It's funny because later on we actually became very close some years later, because we just, years in the program, then she recognized, oh, okay, I see who you actually are. But we never referenced those earlier conversations where it was just a snap judgment, an assumption of my character, like an assumption that I'm this arrogant person when I'm honestly I'm just too self-conscious. I think especially at the time I was just too self-conscious to be arrogant. So it's just like, why are you coming at me with this right now? But I was told, like, watch it, you think you're good, but you're not too good. And it just was frustrating. It just felt like I was always penalized for just being. It felt like, obviously I was praised by a lot of people, but for some reason the negatives stick more with you. I'm validated by all these people, told how great I am by all these people, but like the people who just looked at me in disapproval or felt like they need to tell me, okay, I know this, but you need to this. Those things stuck with me. I thought they were lessons. I thought they were maybe something I needed to hold. I didn't have the discernment back in the day to know what was literal trash, what I didn't need to hold. So, it's hard when you're coming up and everyone's older than you. The adults position themselves as wiser than you. And they just deposit shit on you like they know what the fuck's going on, and they don't. Like, look around at the adults around us now. You can see that half of those motherfuckers don't know what the hell is going on. I wouldn't lean on the judgment of half the people I see. So the fact that we subject kids to this idea that they just have to deify these adults in a way, their teachers, their mentors, it's crazy, because sometimes you don't know, when you're a young person, you don't know what to take. You don't know what to hold and what to let go. So that was a high school mirroring of like, don't shine so much. And then in college got so much worse because, I went to school for digital media production and strategic communication. But for digital media production, there was like a senior thesis that we had to make. We had to make a thesis film, and we also had like build our media portfolio, showcasing all the stuff we did through our college. And on my website, I created this compilation video of all the behind the scenes footage from all the projects, all the narrative films, all the documentary films, all the different spec ads, whatever, all the projects and things I was a part of or produced over the course of college. I created this kind of hype reel of all of us. And I loved this reel because it took me right back to all these times. It took me right back to all those moments of shooting and working with people and collaborate. I just really loved the video. And I put it up on my portfolio site. And then we had to go up and present our site and defend it, And there were like 3 judges, and we clicked through the site, show them everything. I played the video for everybody, whatever. Fast forward, we get the results for the the portfolio, and they just write, the judges mark stuff up and they give you papers, they give you these packets. And so I was going through my grades and my results and looking at what people wrote about it, and I got A's from everyone, right? So I passed. I could have just left it at that and whatever, but I'm someone who was like, it was my art, so I wanted to read what people took from it. And that could be a sensitivity that I have to dissolve, not caring as much, right? But I read it. The first one was like, awesome, love this, great work, you're ready, girl. Like, people were really hyping me. I love the video, nice touch. Boom. Second one, wow, this is really cool. I think you're going in a great direction. Maybe reposition or restructure this. Thought this was great. Video is great. Awesome. Bye. Boom. Last one. Last judge. Don't even remember this person's name. Okay. And he writes some stuff a little more stoic than the other two. And then the last thing he puts is the video was self-indulgent. So I guess he took points off because it felt arrogant to him. And I remember taking that so much to heart. It felt like a ton of bricks, just like, whew. I was like, I thought they would love this. I thought everyone would love this. 2 out of 3 did, but I digress. I was just like, oh, self-indulgent. And it just hit me like a ton of bricks because I hate feeling unprepared. Like, I hate, this was back in the day. Like, now I appreciate someone showing me something that I didn't know. But at the time, I felt unprepared for, I was unsuspecting of this review. I think part of it stressed me out a little bit that, wow, that didn't even occur to me. Am I missing something? Am I a self-indulgent person? Am I an arrogant person? These were all ways that I started to think and I started to question after getting that verdict, that review. I was like, oh man, self-indulgent. Do I look like I care too much about myself? Can should I not do, And so then that thinking planted a seed. And from that moment, graduating college, working in the world, and, I've always wanted to communicate. I've always wanted to make content. I've always wanted to make art and do these things and ship it, have people see them. Because I'm an artist, like, that is in my genes. Like, this is what I do. But I'm realizing and having to unpack that little seed was a virus, and it messed up my whole system because I couldn't finish anything. I couldn't package anything without second guessing of, like, who am I? Who am I to think I can ship this? Who am I to think people will care about? Who am I to think that I should sit here and talk and people listen? It really put something in the back of my mind where it just, like, became this voice every time I wanted to do something, every time I wanted to say something or share something or express something. It's like, who are you to express that? No one cares. It's like every time I did something, every move I made, it was now being self-indulgent of me thinking like, why do I have the audacity to assume that anybody would care about anything that I have going on? And when you say it out loud, it just sounds crazy, right? It sounds ridiculous. Like, girl, like, self-love is the answer. But in my logical brain, I basically just took this piece, this law, and embedded it as fact. And it started to mess up all the other stuff. And now I'm working to pluck that out. I'm really, it's pretty much plucked out, right? But there's still stuff to be done. It's opening up so many doors, as you would expect. Just in myself, opening up those channels, and I just have infinite gratitude to my 4th grade teacher, Miss Reynolds, for requiring that I memorize the poem Our Deepest Fear and recite it at my 4th grade graduation, because that has been the premise of my life. Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be, great, brilliant, talented, all those things, and then it counters it and asks you, like, who are you not to be, right? And your playing small doesn't serve the world. We're not enlightened by shrinking so that other people don't feel insecure around you. We are all meant to shine as children do. And she gave me this little key, this little roadmap via that poem, and forced me to memorize it. She told me I could not read it in front of the crowd. I had to memorize it. And I will be infinitely grateful to that woman, because she saw me. She saw me like no other teacher ever did. And she could see what I needed. I truly believe that. I truly believe that she could see that you're going to need this one day. You're going to need this to undo all the shit that is yet to come. So I'm going to give you this now. Keep it in your pocket. And she made sure I kept it in my pocket. And, here I am 15 years later. Just gratitude. Gratitude to that woman. But moral of the story is that's what this journey is. This journey is it's unpacking a lot of learned things, learned beliefs, Another thing that I'm trying to unpack and unlearn is this idea of entertainment is unproductive. Growing up, I had a parent who would say, like, kind of like watching TV and watching movies wasn't like a productive thing to do. I don't know. And I took that to an extreme because I was just such a sponge. Just like now I live in a world where that parent indulges in shows and movies and I don't. Like, I don't feel like I can. The only time I really allow myself to now, over the past like 4 years or so, the only time I really allow myself to consume media, watch a show, watch a movie is like in social context, because I feel like that's productive. That's social. That's productivity. That's bonding. That's being with someone. That's developing a relationship. Yeah, let's go see a movie. Yeah, let's sit here and cozy up and watch this movie. But I often find it hard to just on my own accord sit alone and watch a film, watch a movie. It wasn't always like that. In college, like every time I would just dedicate a night to turning on my projector and watching something, I always would say to myself, why don't I do this more? This feels really good. This feels healthy. I feel better, more balanced. But I don't know. It's like I'm recognizing something about myself. It's a superpower and a curse, but my brain can latch on to something and integrate it into my reality. But for bad things, that's really bad. This idea that entertainment is not productive, that wasn't a good thing to add to my server. However, I'm grateful that I'm working on that now and recognizing that, like, no, like, sit down, like, watch something. Recently, a paradigm shift and a shift in framing that has really helped me is the idea that that alpha state of just like being dazed and immersed in a show or a movie that I used to think was a sign of being lazy and like not present. Um, it was reframed as narrative nourishment. Your brain needs stories. Your brain needs narrative nourishment. Your brain needs that alpha state because that's rest. That's how your brain processes. That's how your brain empathizes. That's how your brain actually like germinates and works through the things in there. It's how it comes to understand things through story. And I just found myself in this era of this toxic productivity of just picking at myself, like, no, you get off that, don't look at that, make stuff, get off that, make stuff, don't do that, that's not productive, make stuff, or don't look at that unless you're gonna like be taking notes on it or you're gonna use it to make something. Everything you consume needs to be transmuted into something you create. And it became this like toxic, like almost personally performative practice of like, no, you need to do this so that you can see yourself as valuable. You need to do this so you can see yourself as valuable. And man, I am in a peeling place. I'm in a place of peeling all that back right now. Of, you know, having a better just personal sense of personal value, you know. It's just been very, very unhealthy, and it's hard for people who are high performers, people who, you know, do well socially and in their careers, because it can look like everything's perfect. It can look like everything's fine. You know, I get a lot of praise from my peers, from my friends, from my communities. So much so that it can be easy to be like, to not check your bad, to not check the bad in your brain sometimes. You can just be like, oh, well, I'm doing fine. Well, yeah, maybe I'm suffering and anxious all the time, but look around. I'm doing the thing. Look around. I got the job. Look around. I made that sale. Look around. I built that audience. You know what I mean? And it can be easy to just justify the bad. Oh, the bad got me here, babe. And it's like one of those things of knowing that like you can and will go further with more flow if you're doing it at peace with yourself, if you're doing it tethered to your center. You do not have to suffer to succeed. You do not have to suffer to succeed. Oh my, that's a word. And that's honestly like one of the big takeaways I would love for you to take from this episode. Just, you don't have to suffer to succeed. You know, and that is a core, another belief that I think we need to pluck out of our minds that come from, you know, storytelling and things like that. But it doesn't always have to be that way. Yeah, but if you did tune in for this episode, I really, really appreciate you being here. I'm going to start shipping these damn episodes and stuff, because at the end of the day, it's a journal and they benefit me over time. And so I hope that someone gets benefit out of them over time as well. If you did like this episode, please, it would be really, really great if you would leave it a rating, depending on where you're listening to this. But like, I really want to just get some ratings on this show. Even though this isn't necessarily how the format is going to continue, it's not how the quality is going to continue. We just got to ship stuff. You feel me? But please know and please trust that over time, it will take time. Okay, I am still a fluctuating artist who is figuring all this stuff out, but over time, things will get better. Things will get cleaner. I'm in a transitional process in place in my life right now, so things are going to change a lot visually. But overall, I just appreciate you sitting here. If you really sat here and shared this space with me, that's cool. And yeah, let me know that. I'm wanting to see, do people actually sit and listen to these things? Do people listen to this format, you know? So yeah, so thank you so much for tuning in, and yeah, I'll see you in the next episode.